This is a message from sponsor Intuit TurboTax. Taxes was dealing with piles of paperwork and frustrating forms, and then waiting and wondering and worrying if you were going to get any money back. Now Taxes is easily uploading your forms to a TurboTax expert who's matched to your unique tax situation, an expert who's backed by the latest technology, which cross-checks millions of data points for 100% accuracy. While they work on your taxes, you get real-time updates on their progress, and then you get the most money back, guaranteed. All while you go about your day. No stressing, no worrying, no waiting. Now this is Taxes. Intuit TurboTax. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service. Real-time updates only in iOS mobile app. See guaranteed details at TurboTax.com/guarantees.
The spirit of innovation is deeply ingrained in America, and Google is helping Americans innovate in ways both big and small. The Department of Defense is working with Google to help secure America's digital defense systems, from establishing cloud-based zero-trust solutions to deploying the latest AI technology. This is a new era of American innovation. Find out more at g.co/American innovation.
Welcome to the Big Suey, presented by DraftKings,
Why are you listening to this show?
the podcast that seems very similar to the other Dan Le Batard podcast.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to apologize for that.
In fact, the only difference seems to be this imaging.
I have been tempted in restaurants just walking past tables to grab somebody's fries that if they're just there. That hasn't happened to you guys?
I've done it.
And now, here's the marching man to nowhere, Fat Face, and the habitual liar.
This episode of the Dan Le Batard Show is presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
I've got some Inter Miami questions for you guys. I have been fascinated by Messi's bodyguard, who runs up and down the sidelines and no longer is allowed to run up and down the sidelines. And he says it's crazier. In all his years in the Premier League, there were like 6 people who ran on the field, and now there have been 20 in a few months here because of the general insanity around Messi. Just out of curiosity, we can say flatly, right, that Luis Suarez is the second most famous athlete in Miami, correct?
Internationally.
Yeah, globally.
Yeah.
It's not even close. It's not even remotely close when you put together social media numbers, roar, reach, marketing dollars, even money earned. Luis Suarez is the second most famous athlete.
Jonah Bride.
I don't even know who that is. It's a Marlin, I assume.
Player. He's batting like 088.
Yeah, and I would lump LeBron and Dwayne Wade in this mix.
It's early.
I think you can make an argument that Luis Suarez is the second most globally famous athlete to play in South Florida, period, behind Messi. I think globally, Luis Suarez might be more famous than LeBron James.
I assume you were asking about in Miami, though.
I'm saying that he works and plays in Miami and is the second most famous athlete on earth to be playing in Miami, right?
But not in Miami.
No, not in Miami, for sure. For one thing, he's absolutely everybody is swallowed by the shadow of Messi. All right? If you're playing for Inter Miami, I don't care who you are, and now they're talking about getting the Belgian midfielder from Man United.
Man City. Kevin De Bruyne.
Or Man City,
yeah,
right.
LeBron is the second most famous. I just did a
all time.
There. All time.
Right,
yeah.
all time.
Yeah, but right now, actively, it's not even remotely close.
This is a confusing question because I know what David is saying and I know what you guys are saying. You guys are saying the most famous player playing in Miami, and you're talking worldwide, where he's making a distinction of he might be the second most famous worldwide, but he's not the second most famous in Miami at this time.
Not even certain he's in the top 5. I mean,
Manu.
Unrecognizable
Tua
in the park.
Okay, but when I ask people who want fame, which fame would you rather have? Fame that's just in Miami or international fame? I'm talking about global fame. I'm talking about somebody who is, I guess he's 39 years old. I thought he was spent. The first year I watched him, he looked like a square block that was moving very slowly, and yet him and Messi are so much better than everyone that they're playing against that Inter Miami is the thing that it is because these two human beings are on this team, even at an advanced age. I understand that Ovechkin is now doing I understand that aging has now changed in sports and science has changed in sports, but I thought, not unlike Russell Westbrook, I thought the best of Luis Suarez was well behind us. I didn't think that he would be giving us good soccer in approaching 40.
Well, you're right. The best of him is well behind us. However, form is temporary, class is permanent, and he can do things even though he certainly can't run the way that he used to. I don't even know if he has cartilage in his knees. His knee situation, he could have medically retired years ago, but there is a certain class that he brings to the game, a vision, a chemistry that he has, particularly with Messi from all their years playing together, and just instinctually, he knows how to be in the right places. You don't need to be fleet of foot to have your positioning be all world. He was arguably the greatest striker of his generation. And there are certain aspects that you don't need to rely on your physical traits to still be that good at. And he's been an incredible signing. This was a signing that was not without some controversy. Why are we bringing a washed Luis Suarez here? Don't you want to put someone younger near Messi? Why are you just doing this to appease Messi? Well, it's worked out with Luis Suarez, no doubt.
Second most famous biter in the history of sports.
I mean, he's got multiple offenses. But behind Tyson, who spat off a chunk of an ear, I would put Luis Suarez there because he's got multiple incidents.
Didn't Marv Albert bite someone?
He did, but not at a World Cup.
Yeah. That was in a hotel room.
Yeah, well, I mean, in sports, you didn't say on the field of play.
Jessica, did you make a face because you know the story or don't know the story of Marv Albert?
I'm vaguely aware of the story. Do you want to tell the story?
I don't think you want to know the story. I think no is
Billy,
the answer.
you know the story?
I gotta be honest with you, I don't know the story. I just know he bit someone.
There is a sexual assault allegation that involves him and scandal, and before you could lose everything for this kind of scandal, allegedly, and also involved. Sex shaming beyond that with clothes that he was wearing.
A little cross-dressing?
Yeah. The thing that I wanted to ask you guys about before we update some NFL draft stuff that I know that Stugotz and Billy
It's my time of year, Dano.
are excited about because it is Spoiler Wednesday. I have not gotten yet to the last 2 episodes of White Lotus, and I've managed to avoid some of the dangers. I have not yet had it spoiled for me. I just want to play some sound, though, from Mike White on, I think this is the official White Lotus podcast. Mike White has one of the rare shows, and it's kind of amazing that Max continues to be able to do this on Sunday nights, that 6 million people will gather to watch at the appointed time because they immediately want to talk about it. And some people evidently are disappointed by whatever it is that the ending is. And Mike White doesn't seem to care that they're disappointed because the creator of The White Lotus says the following of people who are correctly pointing out, my God, enough with the slow filler of all of these shots. And he is all these shots of water and beautiful shots, but enough with filler. Your show could have been, could have cut 20 minutes of fat out of every episode. And he's an artist and he's saying, no, you can't cut 20 minutes of fat out of it. I'm going for a pace.
There was complaining about how there's no plot, and that part I find weird because it never had a like it's never been. It's like part of me is just like, bro, this is the vibe. Like I'm world building, you know what I mean? It's just like if you don't want to go to bed with me, get out of my bed. Like, you know what I mean? I'm edging you. It's like, enjoy the edging. Like, if you don't want to be edged, get out of my bed. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, don't be a bossy bottom or get the out of my bed. Like, don't come home with me. Don't get naked in my bed. Get the fuck out of my bed.
All right. I
love being edged by you, Mike.
Like, obviously, something's going to happen. I'm not going to just we're not
I'm not going to leave you here. I'm not going to leave you here with nothing.
It's an interesting way to approach criticism.
So that sounded like a Survivor confessional to me. He was trying to move the story along, which is what you do as a confessional. My problem with what he said is he fought with so many people on set. The person he worked with forever disappeared, and Mike White has gone big ego now. And he's been very popular and gotten a lot done and a lot made. But it seems like he's getting a little big for his britches now. And I think it's going to cost him.
Are you citing the story from his composer on the theme that everybody loved? The composer did put the famous part that everybody identifies with, the part in the theme. Everybody was upset that it wasn't in the theme, and it was a Mike White decision, and it led the composer to say, I'm just not working with this guy anymore.
I've never heard it. I skip the theme every time. You guys don't skip that intro?
No, not anymore. I was looking forward to it
Big
because
skip
of the
intro guy.
That
If I have
was
the
a banger.
option to skip your intro, I'm skipping it.
Yeah, but if it's a good song.
I don't need it every time. I'll listen to like first episode of the series.
Right.
I'll drink it in.
Did you do that for this season?
I think so.
Because you were like, well, the last time they did one of these seasons, it banged.
I do know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Are you a skip intro person? Yes or no? David saying that this is going to cost Mike White. I don't know. He's got a wildly popular television show and too big for his britches. You don't think that most directors with wildly successful things are too big for their britches?
There's a lot of what have you done for me lately? And so they gave him increased budget. You can obviously tell from all those fat art shots. They went to the Thailand hotel for multiple months, 6-7 months filming. And there's been reports that all the actors got paid the same, not a lot of money, 40 grand per episode, about 320 grand for their time, plus the free vacation, all expenses paid. And then they'll get budget and they'll get renewed for season 4. But eventually that wears thin. And what happens is studio execs just decide, all right, that was a good run, but that's it.
But it's bigger than it's ever been. 6 million people gathered around on a Sunday night is not something the average behind a paywall is not something that the average show is doing these days. There aren't a lot like this. Like that,
he's made forever. Made forever.
Nobody's made forever, Mike.
Ryan Murphy's found a way to be made forever.
Michael
and most
Jordan
of the shows
is
are
made
not good.
forever. I mean, come on, David.
Mike White is not the GOAT.
Oh.
I mean, when it comes to Mac shows that resonate, Mike White is absolutely considered a tastemaker, and people will keep going to him thinking that he's going to replicate the formula. There's actually something, I know we're on this White Lotus thing, but did you see what China announced? What's being reported? That with the whole tariff situation, they are no longer going to open their box office to American-made films. That is going to positively crush Hollywood.
They're threatening that. And that's are you saying they enacted it already?
They are still threatening. I think we're still in the very threatening phase and reciprocal tariff phase. But as part of the threats right now, they're saying we're just going to close off this huge market to Hollywood. And I don't think this might be beyond the scope of Mel Gibson and his ability to broker peace.
The problem there, Mike, just quickly, is that he's appealing. China there is going after an industry that Trump doesn't actually care about. So it's not going to have any impact.
He did put Mel Gibson in charge of it. All right. So there's someone staffed against this.
You say this is going to absolutely crush Hollywood, and I would say that we're already there, having just returned from there and seeing that the only billboards anywhere in town are all Netflix. Like everything there is Netflix. I don't know what it is that China will do to Netflix, but Netflix doesn't really need the theater. Like this will just make it go faster, but we're already there. Like when you drive through that city, you realize that there's one thing spending money in that city to advertise all of its stuff, and it's Netflix. It's on every billboard, and it's not a lot of other stuff that's not Netflix. So all of this has largely already changed. I just can't possibly predict, and neither can our economists, and neither can our president, and neither can anybody, what the actual damage is going to be of what is presently happening to the economy. But Stugotz just informed me with great delight that the NASDAQ is up today.
245. I mean,
just while I was
check back at the end.
While I was talking, Stugotz whispered it into my ear that the NASDAQ is up.
Are you day trading, Stugotz?
Perhaps.
A fool and his money will soon be parted.
I want to
It's
get
a great buying opportunity, David. I don't care what you say. It is.
I will say the bond market is looking pretty dangerous, and there's a lot of people turning to the bond market for something a little bit more conservative, given the instability of the stock market, which is a speculative market anyways. So you're going to have people riding vibes. Like yesterday, there were a lot of people peacocking when the Dow was up, and then by the end of the day and closing bell, it was down. The bond market is particularly concerning right now.
Before we get to a new draft expert that Billy and Stugotz are excited about just because it allows us to talk about the NFL draft, Before David leaves, and I urge you to listen to Nothing Personal, which is doing spectacularly for the Le Batard and Friends network, there was a horribly sad story in baseball yesterday, and I don't know how many people are talking about it because Octavio Dotel was a reliever from a long time ago. But David, this one hurt you.
Yeah, not that long ago. He's only 51 years old. Yeah. And if you listen to today's Nothing Personal, you'll hear quite a bit about this. But what I didn't have time to mention on the show that I'd like to just talk about now is how we all react to what took place and how, to us, we're here in the United States and it starts as a headline, maybe number one headline, and within 3 hours it's below who's being drafted or what the rumor is. The reality is that 79 people are dead in the Dominican because of a roof collapse that is not dissimilar to what happened in Surfside, except it happens all the time in the Dominican because the way that construction is done, and I am as guilty as anyone, we go to the Dominican and we cut corners. We figure out how to schmeiss permit people and how to get things done because we're trying to just get players. And then we do press conferences saying, hey, look at our great new brand spanking new academy. Every team does it, but yet what's behind it is lies. And then it can result in something like this. Thank God it wasn't a baseball academy, but it was a place where players and other people were innocent people who died because the construction is so shoddy. And it's down in the headlines. We're not going to talk about it after today. And lives have been changed. Nelson Cruz's sister's dead. And things in the Dominican happen. Greg's covered it. Car accidents happen where players die. We didn't want our players to ever go home to the Dominican. And the guilt I feel currently about wanting players not to go home because I'm worried they're going to die. And then when they do die, you feel like it's more of an I told you so versus taking the time to fix it.
Appreciate your help this week, David. We're going to let you go now because our draft expert is here and you have to get out of the way during baseball season for the NFL draft because Stugotz and Billy want to talk to our new draft expert. So I'm sorry.
It's not just them.
We all do.
Yes. I would much rather talk the NFL.
Very
Although
young.
I did appreciate your comments on the matter.
See you later, David. Thank you for spending this time with us this week. Yes, a poor one. Admittedly, a poor one. Not easy to transition out of that to a draft expert.
Probably should have considered that.
Yeah. I should have. But he got here early, and I saw his face in the preview.
That never happens to him.
And it disoriented me, and it forced on live television me to transition poorly. Thank you for allowing it to happen without anyone noticing.
We could have said a more polished host, perhaps.
Yes. There are any number of ways I could have done that better. And if I'd had a crew that supported me, that would not be mentioned on air either. It would just go unmentioned, and I would just do it awkwardly. But that's not the predicament I'm in. That's not the show I run.
I'm here for you, Dan.
Yeah, sometimes. Not recently.
Everything is getting more expensive. Rent, gas, groceries, and the last thing you need is credit card debt piling up. But there's a better way to build credit without interest or expensive fees. With Chime's Credit Builder Visa credit card, you use money you set aside to build credit. No credit check, no minimum deposit, and no annual fees. Just make everyday purchases and pay on time. Start building smarter credit today at chime.com/Dan. That's chime.com/DAN. Good credit opens doors, better loan rates, easier apartment approvals, and financial peace of mind. Plus, with Chime, you can get paid up to 2 days early and even access fee-free overdraft up to $200 with SpotMe. Turn your everyday purchases and on-time payments into steps toward your financial goals with Chime's Secured Credit Builder Visa credit card. Get started today at chime.com/Dan. That's chime.com/DAN. Chime feels like progress. The Chime Credit Builder Visa credit card is issued by the Bancorp Bank, N.A. or Stride Bank, N.A. SpotMe eligibility requirements and overdraft limits apply. Chime checking account is required to apply. Out-of-network ATM withdrawal and OTC advance fees may apply. Timing depends on submission of payment file. Late payment may negatively impact your credit score. Results may vary. Go to chime.com/disclosures for details.
The Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz is sponsored by BetterHelp. Life gets busy, and your mind carries it all. But just like your body needs care, so does your mental health. This is an investment in clarity, in peace, in you. let's talk numbers. Traditional in-person therapy can cost anywhere from $100 to $250 per session, which adds up fast. With BetterHelp Online Therapy, you can save an average of up to 50% per session. With BetterHelp, you pay a flat fee for weekly sessions, saving you big on cost and time. Therapy should feel accessible, not like a luxury. With online therapy, you can get quality care at a price that makes sense and can help with anything from anxiety to everyday stress. Your mental health is worth it, and now it's within reach. With over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform. Having served over 5 million people globally, it's convenient too. You can join a session with the click of a button, helping you fit therapy into your busy life, plus switch therapists at any time. Your well-being is worth it. Visit BetterHelp.com/DLB today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/DLB.
Folks, it's Mike Ryan, and do you know that Miller Lite has basically been a partner of this show for almost 20 years? And as we celebrate 50 years of Miller Lite, that means for a large chunk of it, and look, I didn't go to school for math, but I'm pretty sure that's like 80% of the time that Miller Lite's been existing. They've been with our show. And I'm so grateful for it because we truly believe this. If you listen to us back in our radio days, throughout our times in national radio, to the Pirate Face, to now, you know that Miller Lite has been a huge supporter of ours. And I've always been a huge supporter of Miller Lite. Why? Because it's got taste you know you can depend on. A great beer, trusted by beer lovers for 50 years. Miller Lite, great taste, 96 calories. Go to MillerLite.com/Dan to find delivery options near you, or you can pick up Miller Lite pretty much anywhere they sell beer. It's Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.
Dan Le Batard.
My wife says this is a sexy voice.
It really is.
Yeah.
I'm hard.
Thank you. Wow.
Stugotz.
So am I, actually. I don't know why.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
The Athletics NFL draft expert. He's been researching the NFL draft for nearly 20 years to create the definitive resource for fans and football insiders alike. And that sounds asinine because I'm looking at his face and there's no way this person is 20 years old. So unless he was doing it as an embryo, and he may have been, I find it hard to believe that he's running the definitive draft guide known as The Beast. It's available today at theathletic.com. And he's also a barbecue pitmaster. We'll get to that in a second with him because I want to question his expertise there.
He's accomplished a lot, huh?
I mean, at a very young age, it would appear. Yeah. So thank you, Dane, for being on the show with us and explain to us how it is that you became an NFL draft expert. How does one, I would imagine in this particular space, I just got back and I saw Mina Kimes, and for all of the interests that she has in the world, and they are varied, nothing is more interesting to her than mock drafts. And I just find it super bizarre. Like, I don't understand the redoing of mock drafts again and again and again.
That has to disappoint you so much coming from Mina Kimes.
I just don't understand it. I'm wildly confused by it, but this is an area that many people care about, and you, thank you for joining us, Dane, have been caring about it since when? How exactly did you become a draft expert?
Well, scouting is always what I've wanted to do. Going back to the first time I created a draft guide was my freshman year dorm room back at Mount Union in 2005. So been doing it for a while now, and it's the ultimate hope for fans, right? Is the idea of, okay, this is how we can get better if we draft this player and that player, and it's kind of a reminder that the NFL is king when we're here in April, and the NFL draft is still driving a lot of the conversations that sports fans are having. But also, it's the ultimate marriage of college football and the NFL, two of the biggest, if not the two biggest sports in the country. So, there's a lot of reasons for the popularity. And I mean, I'm thankful and blessed enough that there is that popularity. It allows me to have this job and create a document like this, which is really cool this year. It's not just a PDF. It's an interactive microsite where there's over 2,600 prospects on there. There's 400 reports, all the NFL verified testing information. You can check it all out on The Athletic. And so people have been really digging it, and it's cool to take it to these heights this year.
Put it on the poll. Do you want an interactive microsite with your football at Le Batard Show?
PDF is fine.
Can you tell me, more responsible for your great skin, youth or moisturizer?
Ooh.
Genetics, right? I mean, look, I've always looked younger than I am, and I'll appreciate that. I'm almost 40, and I'll appreciate that now, when I get into my 40s, but I have 4 kids. And so that weighs on you a little bit, right? Especially when, you've got soccer and baseball and dance, and I've got twins. And so, I don't feel as young as I used to. I'll put it that way.
It does look like Stugotz maybe like 30 years ago.
In my prime.
Like the hat,
are
the
you
outfit.
kidding
I'm
me?
just saying, like,
Stugotz looked like that at 8.
I look like Clooney.
Like they're wearing the same outfit. It's just he looks.
They
better.
don't look alike, and they don't. No,
I'm better looking.
No,
yes, in my prime, Dan. I mean, come on.
The league verified testing information that you have for more than 2,000 prospects. How is it that you go about beginning to tackle that amount of research?
Yeah, it's just my relationships in the league. I wouldn't be able to do this job without my, network of scouts that I rely on to help me gather all this information. And I try to, my dream was always to scout in the league. And then when I was trying to break into the league, I started doing it on the media side. And I was like, okay, well, this is kind of fun because I'm not scouting for just one team or one roster. I'm doing it for 32 teams, and I can do it from a very generalized standpoint. And so I wanted to create a guide that I would want to read and I would want to consume. And so I want to know, okay, what's the 40-yard dash for all these guys? What's the vertical? I want to know, just for comparison purposes, what is all the testing information? And so, we have the combine, that's 300-ish type players. But all the pro days, all the workouts, I want to be able to get all that information. And so definitely proud of the fact that you're not going to find this information elsewhere besides the Beast with all the NFL verified testing, 40s, heights, weights. We're not relying on what the schools say they are, height, weight. We're going to get the exact arm length for all of these guys. And so it's really helpful for me in my process. And I know fans just really eat it up.
Our draft expert, Greg Cody, had 12 exactos last year. I'm wondering how many you had.
Yeah, in terms of like nailing the first round picks.
You got it. Nail the pick, nail the team they're going to.
Exacto.
Yep.
The exacto wasn't clear enough for you just by calling it.
Capital E.
Calling it an exacto didn't clue you in to the great expertise of our 70-year-old veteran of the draft who takes great pride in kicking the ass of Mel Kiper every year with his exactos.
That's true. I only do one mock draft, by the way. I don't do mock draft 0.5.0, 6.0. Come on. One mock draft is enough. We all love mock drafts. Second biggest day in the NFL behind the Super Bowl. Let me ask you a question.
You can tell me who's going 2 overall.
He hasn't done his research yet.
I think Travis Hunter right now, but I'm still in mid-research. Right. Well, Dane, let me ask you this.
He didn't answer the other one.
Right.
Can we get the answer to his exacto question?
Yeah, he's evading the jury.
I'll be honest. I don't remember. I don't think it was 12. It was probably 9 or 10.
That's credible.
I care more about my rankings, to be honest, in the mock draft. Like, I care about, okay, I had this player ranked here, and maybe he didn't go that high on draft day, but in retrospect, as we look back, okay, he should have been that high. So I kind of look at it from that standpoint as opposed to the mock draft. But of course, you want to get that final mock draft right. This year will be tough because I think, Cam Ward 1. I do think Travis Hunter 2, Abdul Carter 3, and then it becomes a big crapshoot because there's a lot of differing opinions. This is a different draft class in the top 10. We're not going to have 10 true top 10 guys. So there's a wide ranging of opinions from different teams about how the next order should be.
Do you agree with what I think is fairly common thinking that if this were last year's draft, Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders would probably be the 5th and 6th rated quarterbacks, and therefore they're going to be overdrafted this year simply because they're the best available quarterbacks, not because they really deserve to be 1 and 5 or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. When you look back at last year, none of these quarterbacks are going ahead of Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, and Drake May 1, 2, 3. I think the debate becomes, okay, who would have been that 4th quarterback between Michael Penix, J.J. McCarthy, Bo Nix, and then the group that we have this year. And it was interesting. Cam Ward actually declared last year. He entered his name into the draft, and then largely due to NIL and transfer portal, he changed his mind, transfers to Miami, has this outstanding season. And I think when you look at Cam Ward, you're encouraged by the progress. You know, he was a wing T quarterback in high school, goes to Incarnate Word and gets better and better, goes to Washington State, gets better and better. And then his 5th year at Miami, he was at his best. And so you're encouraged by the ability to progress every year, get better, and you think, okay, he's 22 now. What's he going to look like at 25? Is he going to continue to improve? And I think that's what really you're banking on. And I think at the Combine, it became pretty clear Cam Ward was going to be the first pick. It was more of a question, okay, will the Titans stick and pick? Or could we see a trade up to number 1? The Giants, we know how desperate they are for a quarterback. Would they be able to do it? And as closer we get to the draft, it becomes pretty clear the Titans are ready to stick and pick. And I think you understand why, because if you don't have an avenue to a quarterback, what are we doing, right? And so if the Titans don't take a chance on a guy like Cam Ward, then what is their next best option? And it's hard to come to a solution that you feel good about. So if you think Cam Ward can evolve into a top 14 type of quarterback in the league, I think you have to roll that dice and see what happens.
Is stick and pick yours, or is that something that's the parlance of the industry because it just rhymes? You could just say stay there, but you're enjoying saying stick and pick.
It just rolls off the tongue, right? I mean, it sounds good.
Is it yours though? Is it yours? Like, do you have it copyrighted? Is that exclusive to the Beast?
I don't know that I definitely don't have it copyrighted. I'm probably sure I've heard it elsewhere. But yeah, I mean, now that you mention it, maybe I should check into that.
Is that hyphenated? I'm just curious. Stick and pick, or no hyphens?
Yeah, probably 2 hyphens in there. Stick and pick. Yeah,
I think so. I think so.
Dane, is there a chance that the Titans don't stick and pick? Because we decided, I don't know, 3 months ago that we were going to do a watch party for the NFL draft in Nashville because they had the number 1 pick. And it was a dicey decision because should they trade out, we'd just be in Nashville for absolutely no reason watching the NFL draft. So as we're getting closer, it looks like it was a safe decision, but is there any chance that they can be blown away with a package and we will just be sitting in Nashville to watch a team pick at 6 or something?
There are worse places to be for, to kind of watch the draft. But I would be surprised at this point. The Titans have not really hid their interest for Cam Ward. And with a first-year general manager, Mike Borgonzi, a second-year head coach, there's always a question mark where you're not entirely sure exactly which direction they want to go. But I just keep going back to, okay, if you're not going to draft Cam Ward at 1, what is your best avenue to a quarterback? Because Will Levis is going into the seat right now. He is at the top of the depth chart. And Will Levis has not taken control of that job and said, okay, I am a long-term starting quarterback in the league. He hasn't been able to do it to this point. And so, again, if you believe Cam Ward can be a top 12 to 14 quarterback in the league, which several teams do, because if Cam Ward doesn't go 1, he would go 2 to the Browns. The Browns would more than happily take him at number 2. I think we have to look at quarterbacks as kind of like taking bets, right? Like it's such a hard position to evaluate. I don't care, who you are. It's just there's so much that goes into it mentally, physically. And so if you just have to kind of make a bet that, all right, we like this, and this is what translates. We're going to make a bet on that working and that fitting with our coaches and our personnel. And I think the Titans are ready to do that.
I was listening to you and on my buddy Nate Tice's podcast last week talking about all of the quarterbacks of the non-Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders tier, like the Milrose, the Tyler Shucks, the Jackson Darts. Which one do you think is the best bet, or does it just depend on who's drafting them?
Yeah, I think if Jackson Dart to me is the most intriguing because he is probably has the most talent, but it's going to take some time. That Ole Miss offense really didn't get him ready for this next level. Can he get to the backside read? Can he make those full field progressions? So there's a little more projection with Jackson Dart, but he has the physical tools. the competitiveness, the leadership off the charts. So you like a lot of what Jackson Dart brings to the table. It's just the mental development is going to take time. So if I'm a team like the Browns, who really they need a quarterback pretty quickly, I don't know that Jackson Dart's going to be higher than maybe some of these other quarterbacks. Now, if I'm the Steelers and theoretically Aaron Rodgers could be here for the next year, or even the Giants where you have Russell Wilson starting for the 2025 season, then I think Jackson Dart becomes much more of a strong possibility. If I need someone to start right away, I think I'm leaning towards Tyler Shuck from Louisville, who is a unique player because he's a seventh-year senior. He's going to be a 26-year-old rookie, and you just don't see that a lot. But it's been injuries, and it hasn't been like multiple knee injuries. It's been a broken leg and a busted shoulder and things that I don't think are going to give teams big red flags moving forward. But for a guy that's that age, this past year at Louisville was the first time he played more than 8 games in a season in 7 years in college. And that's not ideal, but he has the size, the arm. He's a power thrower. He's a twitchy thrower. And he's a good athlete for being a 6'4", 220-pound quarterback. So teams really like Tyler Shuck. And I think both those guys, Jackson Dart, Tyler Shuck, teams in the top 35, top 40, there's a good chance we see them both come off the board.
If Abdul Carter did not have the foot injury, would he be consensus number 1?
No, I don't think so. I really don't think the foot injury has all that much to do with it. I think it just comes down to the Titans. Quarterbacks are just different, right? Quarterbacks. It's hard to rank quarterbacks with other positions because it's a weighted position. The impact level that it brings is just different. And then I think it comes down to, okay, who's the best non-quarterback? Is it Travis Hunter or is it Abdul Carter? And in my opinion, it's Travis Hunter. We have not seen a player like this, how unique he is, can play both sides. He's a dynamic athlete. I would love to play him full-time on defense and then mix in 25-ish plays a game and get him 8 to 10 touches on offense. I think that's the perfect way to use him. But there's a lot of teams that think he's an offensive player first, and then they'll try to figure out something on defense. And I think the Browns, sitting there at number 2, they need to get better on offense. Their offensive scoring was 32nd in the league last year. Third down conversions were 32nd in the league. They need a spark on offense. And if they don't believe in one of these quarterbacks, which I don't think they do at number 2 overall, Travis Hunter does make sense because of the spark he would bring to an offense that just needs any semblance of life.
Where do you think Shedeur Sanders goes? And do you think he's going to be a good NFL quarterback?
That's the big question. It's funny. I like Shedeur Sanders, but you're not allowed to like him. You have to love him or hate him for whatever reason. That's how it's become. And look, I think he can start in the league. It's just, can he truly be a difference maker, a guy that's going to elevate the offense around you, be someone that is going to help drag the team to the playoffs if that's what's needed? I think he needs a situation where everything is clicking around him to really make that happen. And it really comes down to, he's tough, he's smart, he's really poised, but the way he likes to play, I just don't know that he has the physical traits needed to do it. That he wants to play like Jordan Love, where he's going in reverse in the pocket and moving around and throwing off balance, and he just doesn't have the size, the movement skills, the arm. He just doesn't have those type of high-end traits at the position to get away with that consistently at the NFL level. So if I had a chance to draft Shedeur Sanders at 25, 26. I think I would. That's where I would consider him, because I do think he can start in the league. I just think it's going to take a lot more around him for everything to work. But where is he going to land on draft night it's a fascinating question. I think if he does get past 3 with the Giants, the Saints at 9 are a really interesting spot for him. And if he gets past there, then we're talking about the Steelers and then potentially maybe the Browns or the Giants at early second round trading back into the first to get him. Right now, the over-under on quarterbacks in the first round is 2.5. And I think, you always lean towards taking the over on quarterbacks. It just, the Kenny Pickett year was an aberration. Usually we see more quarterbacks than not go in the first round. So I think I would take the over on that 2.5.
Regarding Shedeur Sanders, if you're going to try and play like Kyler Murray, you better have Kyler Murray's athleticism. If you're going to be doing the backwards in the pocket stuff. I want to speed this up because we've got a lot to get to and we've got too many questions and not a lot of time left. So let's hit him with the pressurized music and see if I can get quick answers to quick questions here. The most overhyped player in the draft right now is blank.
The most overhyped player in the draft is, that's tough. I mean, it would have to be Shedeur Sanders, right? I mean, it's just, he's a good player, but to take him top 5 overall, I think is a stretch.
Somebody who's going to go higher in the draft than most mock drafts are predicting is blank.
Let's go with Jalen Walker, the pass rusher / linebacker from Georgia. A little bit of a hybrid, can do it all.
The player with the measurables that awed you the most was blank.
Shamar Stewart, Texas A&M pass rusher, seeing him up close to the Senior Bowl, that burst. I mean, guys that are 6'4", 270 pounds, they shouldn't be able to move like him. He had a 40-inch vert. He is a freak, the freak of all freaks. 1.5 sacks last year, but he will be a top 20 pick because he's just different than everybody else.
How many sacks?
1.5.
What the hell? Like, what the hell? What do you mean 1.5? That's 1.5 more than Greg Cody.
Part of it's usage. Part of it's, he had a lot of pressures. He just didn't finish in the pocket. So there's something there. He is one of the wild cards of this draft because he is different. He's kind of like the Travon Walker of this draft, where maybe the tape doesn't always line up, but the traits are crazy. And we know NFL teams, they don't draft stats, they draft traits.
Great vert.
Spot that you'd like to see Tyler Warren land in.
Chicago at 10. I think it's an underrated spot. Pair him with Ben Johnson. He could be his Sam Laporta. They run a lot of 12 personnel, so Cole, with Kmet still there, it still works. Add another pass catcher to that offense. I think it makes a lot more sense than people think.
The possible team matching with possible player that excites you the most other than that one is blank.
I think Will Campbell to the Patriots. They've been kind of looking for that left tackle, and it's maybe not the sexiest position talking about offensive linemen, but I want to help Drake May because Drake May, what he did last year without an offensive line, without a ton of help around him, you give him that help. You add Stephon Diggs at receiver. All right, let's give him a blindside protector, and I think Will Campbell can do that.
True or false, you worry about someone when you ask about how excited they are and they mention a left tackle.
True. There's nothing wrong with that. Left tackles are instrumental to a team's success, so it matters.
The weakest draft since blank.
The Kenny Pickett draft, where we had one quarterback in the top 73 picks, and Travon Walker went number 1 overall. It's not a bad draft, but it's definitely relatively weaker than we've seen in the last 2-3 years.
Is this year finally a good year to accept that maybe more than one running back should go in the first round?
Yes, and more than one running back will go in the first round. Ashton Genty will be a top 10 pick, and then it's okay, where does Omarion Hampton go? 12 to the Cowboys. I have a hard time seeing him get past 20 with the Broncos, which would be a perfect fit for both Bo Nix and Sean Payton, but also the running back and what that could mean for the Broncos as they try to unseat the Chiefs in the AFC West.
A better example than you being a maximum football dork at Mount Union as a freshman than you minoring in football player evaluation is blank.
Oh gosh. I don't know. I have a good answer for that one. Because you know what? I'm from Northeast Ohio, and the Browns came back in '99, and I was just like 12 years old, looking at, okay, Tim Couch, Ricky Williams, like, this is fascinating. It was like an instant thing. Scouting is what I need to do. And look, my dad's not a coach, like I don't have an uncle who's an owner. Like, how else are you going to get into the league? That's what this draft guide's about, trying to create something. And it got me several interviews in the league. And I just happen to be geared or kind of torn to this media side, and I've really enjoyed it.
It's available today at theathletic.com. It's the definitive draft guide known as The Beast. I'm going to really put you on the spot here, make you speed it up with a name and just a sentence of evaluation on the following. You are an amateur barbecue pitmaster. I'm going to give you an assortment of meats. You give me the first player that comes to mind when I mention that meat. Texas brisket is hot and smoky. Who you got?
Let's go with Travis Hunter, because talking about versatility, you can do so much with brisket. You could shred it, you could slice it, you could put it on mac and cheese. You can do so many things with it. So versatility, I'll go Travis Hunter.
Prime rib.
I mean, that's the king, right? That's so who's going number 1 overall? Cam Ward. So I mean, prime rib. That's at the top of the list, and Cam Ward's going to go first. So we'll go Cam.
Memphis ribs, slow and dry.
Let's go with Mason Graham, the defensive tackle from Michigan, who is going to be a top 7 pick. Nothing really sexy about him, but you know what? You don't walk away from drafting Mason Graham and think, oh, we didn't get better, or that was a bad pick. You're not going to think that way. Same way with ribs.
KC pulled pork, sweet and tangy.
Sweet and tangy. So let's go with Shamar Stewart, who I mentioned as being a toolsy, traitsy guy. It's easy to be enticed by the different ways he can move, but you know what? It's maybe the payoff isn't there.
Porterhouse steak.
Ooh. Oh gosh. I mean, Ashton Genty. I mean, you can make a case he's the best player in the draft. You can make a case Porterhouse steak is the number 1 thing you want to order on the menu.
Tenderloin roast.
Oh man, let's go Abdul Carter. With a slab of beef like that, Abdul Carter, and the way he can rush a passer, it works.
You're just picking names. I mean, he's good at it. He's great at this game.
You can't question the way he did that. What we did was totally unfair to him.
He's just picking names out.
Yeah, okay, but what we did was not right or
stick
fair.
And pick.
Or stick and pick. Thank you for being on with us. Cody hasn't listened since you said stick and pick. Thank you, sir.
Anytime. Thank you, guys.
Folks, listen up. They're here and they're hot. Get ready because Jimmy John's is turning up the heat. After years of perfecting the cold sandwich, toasted sandwiches are finally here. Try one of their 3 all-new toasted creations. The Toasted Chicken Bacon Ranch, all-natural chicken, creamy home-style ranch, applewood smoked bacon, melted provolone, fresh veggies, all on a perfectly toasted French bread. Good God, does that sound delicious. Or the Toasted Roast Beef and Cheddar, premium roast beef, melty cheddar, creamy horseradish sauce, crispy fried onions, fresh veggies, golden toasted French bread. It just keeps getting better. And the Toasted Ultimate Italian, salami, capicola, smoked ham, applewood smoked bacon, melted provolone, shredded Parmesan, fresh veggies toasted to perfection. Or take your favorite Jimmy John classics like the number 9 Italian Nightclub or the number 11 Country Club and get them toasted. Order now at jimmyjohns.com, on the Jimmy John's app, or stop by your local Jimmy John's today.
Folks, it's Mike Ryan, and do you know that Miller Lite has basically been a partner of this show for almost 20 years? And as we celebrate 50 years of Miller Lite, that means for a large chunk of it, and look, I didn't go to school for math, but I'm pretty sure that's like 80% of the time that Miller Lite's been existing, they've been with our show. And I'm so grateful for it because we truly believe this. If you listen to us back in our radio days, throughout our times in national radio, to the Pirate Face, to now, you know that Miller Lite has been a huge supporter of ours. And I've always been a huge supporter of Miller Lite. Why? Because it's got taste you know you can depend on. A great beer, trusted by beer lovers for 50 years. Miller Lite, great taste, 96 calories. Go to MillerLite.com/Dan to find delivery options near you, or you can pick up Miller Lite pretty much anywhere they sell beer. It's Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.